This is our author. This is Passages. And this is what we do with passages. We take a passage from wherever, and I provide some context, and then we talk about it. So I feel like you're not getting your money's worth tonight, although you didn't really pay anything. Well, maybe you donated. I hope you did. I don't have to do much here. This is Rumi. Rumi's a genius and a poet and a brilliant mystic. So I'll let him do most of the talking tonight, including this, the passage. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. I think that's the first passage I ever read from Rumi, and I was blown away. 5 lines, and yet so much power and meaning and depth in those 5 lines. And I think of that a lot, actually, when I get trapped into wrongdoing and right doing. I think, there's a field. We don't have to be right here. So let's learn a little bit about Rumi, find some context. So, love that image there. So, who's the best-selling poet in the United States? Rumi. A Muslim mystic is the best-selling poet in the United States. That gives me hope, actually. I was, for a time, attending the First Congregational Church of Los Angeles downtown on Commonwealth and 6th. Know the minister there. And for National Poetry Day, they did Rumi. And I'm like, a Christian church reciting Rumi. They had people reciting Rumi's lines all over. I'm like, this too gives me hope. You know what else? You all give me hope. So thank you for coming out. Islam means submission. It's also related to the Arabic word for peace, salam. It was founded by Muhammad, although that's from the outside. They would say it was founded by Allah. Muhammad, 570 to 632 CE. And he heard the voice of the angel Gabriel in a cave. He was suffering from great headaches and such, and so he had withdrawn to this cave. And the angel Gabriel says, recite, write this down. And so what he wrote down was the Quran, the voice of God, Allah, which is also Yahweh, which is also God the Father for Muslims. There is one God. It is Allah. But Allah is all the gods. And then to be a Muslim is to follow the 5 pillars. Technically, to be a Muslim, all you have to do is the confession, the Shahada, where you say there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. So this is one of the ways that Islam spread in the early Middle Ages, is that sure, there was some forced conversion, but it also didn't require you, for example, to be circumcised, like it would be if you were becoming a Jew. All you had to say was the creed, and you were a Muslim. Of course, there are other things you must do: worship, almsgiving, fasting, and the Hajj, or the pilgrimage. I think most people don't know this, but if you're a Muslim, especially a Sunni Muslim, you're required to give a percentage of your income to the poor. Required. Now, I grew up as a Baptist, and the preachers were always begging us and telling us that we had to give 10%, but nobody gave 10%. This is a requirement. It's one of the pillars of Islam, is that you must give to the poor. So Islam develops, and as all religions do after the death of the founder, it breaks into sects. This happens with every single religion. It happens to Buddhism, where within a year there are 4 different sects. Within a year of the Buddha's death, there are 4 different sects of Buddhism. And actually in the online course that Brooke mentioned, I talk about this, about how this happens in religions. So we have Sunni, which comprises about 85% of Muslims. Shia, which is about 15%. And Sufis don't poll very well. They don't poll enough to get into the debate, so they're under 1%. But they're interesting. This is another thing about religions. Almost every religion has a mystical dimension to it, or a mystical sect even. And this is Islam's mystical sect, Sufism. Isn't that amazing? So, what is Sufi Islam? The word comes from suf in Arabic, or wool, and it means, Sufi means literally a person of wool. And it's interesting because I was talking to this reporter this week about Marianne Williamson. He's like, well, where's she coming from? And I'm like, well, it's hard to say because most people know religions as they come to them in their experience or in the media, and religion is so much bigger than that. And she's coming from a place you don't know about, which is called New Thought, generally. And he's like, well, what's New Thought? And I'm like, well, which kind of New Thought, right? Because, and where? Because it's all over. And this is true in Sufism as well, is that there are many different kinds of Sufism. Some of them are closer to the more traditional Sunni sect. Others are off, kind of creating new works. And this is Rumi. He kind of creates his own branch of Islam. In fact, we'll see more about that in a minute. They are called dervishes most often, which simply means poor person, because they denied themselves. They weren't exactly ascetic, but they did not want to accumulate goods or wealth or get lost in those kind of daily appetites. And so they were often begging, and I'll show you a begging bowl in one of the images. So sometimes, like many ascetics and mystics, near total isolation from the culture. Other times, kind of assimilation to the culture. In fact, there was a famous Sufi, what's his name? I don't think I have it here, but he was a caliph for a while, and he was a Sufi. So, a spectrum of beliefs and practices, even within Sufism. And like I say, Rumi creates a different tradition, his own unique tradition, right? All right, so Sufism is a religion of mentoring, and you're going to see how important that is for Rumi. So if you want to become a Sufi, you must have a mentor, a helper for your journey. You know, when we put together passages, I just kind of don't have a plan. I don't say, oh, let's make the passages lead to this. I just kind of think, we should read Rumi. And last week it was Dante, and there is no connection between those, except they were living at the same time, which is interesting, generally the same time. Rumi's a little bit earlier. And then I never know what themes are going to emerge, which is what makes it great fun. And I never know what the hell you all are going to say, so that's always a surprise. I think, we'll talk about this, and you all go and talk about something completely different, which is awesome. So it's clear to me that there's a kind of mentorship theme emerging here in our passages so far, and this goes from Dante last week, who is mentored by Virgil through hell. Such a cruel joke, because Virgil has to stay in hell. So he's a unique mentor. He comes out of hell at the urging of Beatrice and helps Dante get through, but has to go back to hell. In fact, there's a wonderful moment in the Inferno where he passes by, where he stays in hell. He's like, yeah. And Dante's like, what's wrong? He's like, never mind. I got to come back here, You're going on to Beatrice and then paradise, fine, but I got to come back here. Just because I was born before your precious Jesus. That's my own translation of the Italian. So Sufism is about mentorship. You must have a mentor because the path is very deep and uncertain and depends so much on a guide. Because, as this is true of mystics, because you don't have a path. The path isn't there. You must find it for yourself. And I think that's what's really attractive about mysticism. But it's like taking ayahuasca or something like that, an hallucinogen. You shouldn't do that without a guide, because you're going into very strange, unknown, dangerous places, even if you're in just a Sufi enclave. All right. So you take an oath, tariqa. You have to commit to this path, the tariqa, and you take an oath to it. And I love this. It's called, the path itself is called lifting the veil of ignorance. Love that, because that is the mystical path. The mystical path is a via negativa. It's a negative way where you find out what is not, where God isn't, where Allah is not. And by finding where he is not, you ultimately find where he is. So the path is lifting the veil of ignorance. And then the mentor is called a sheikh sometimes, or a peer, P-I-R. And right. And the idea is for the mentor, the sheikh or the peer, to lead the adherent to a higher path of consciousness. That's the whole goal. Now, this is ultimately Allah, of course, but then this gets very much like Hinduism. And you'll see that Allah is, well, it's higher consciousness for Sufism, more than a being. And in fact, we see this so often in mystical religions, but also in the deepest parts of most religions, is that you must get beyond the God. You must get beyond the symbol. First of all, you can't think that the symbols are the thing, you know? Right. The dog is a symbol. Sorry, dude. You must get beyond the symbol. You must get beyond the word. Because if you get stuck in the words, then you're stuck. The words are not the thing. And so maybe you get to the God, but you've got to move beyond the God, because the God itself is a symbol. And to get into that higher consciousness, you must move beyond God, Yahweh, Allah, all of them. All right. So I love these images. So more context. So you would go through various stations. I love this. So there's not a path, but there are kind of markers, right? Or stages. They're called maqam, of ascetic and spiritual development in your search for the divine. And then you have particular ethics or behavior you must adhere to, repentance, renunciation, etc. So this is always true too, almost always, I think, is that even in the deep mystical traditions, there's an ethics. Now, as you'll see, if you take the course I'm offering beginning this Friday, ethics is the latest development in a religion. It's a kind of, I was going to say failure, but that's not right. But it is so far removed from the founding experience of the sacred, of the holy other, that your founder has. It's so far removed from that, it's a poor substitute. That's what I meant by failure. It's a poor substitute. And every devoted adherent would tell you that. It would be much, much better to have Jesus here just to explain what he's talking about in those parables, because they're so confusing. What do you mean? I have to hate my father and mother? You're not serious, are you? Well, the founder's gone. Sorry, he said he'd be right back, but, still waiting. So what do you do? What do you do in the meantime? Well, you better put some stuff together. And these have to be like ethical codes. And so even Sufism has this, although they're very different. Abstinent, they're a monastic kind of code. Poverty, patience, gratitude, joy. Joy as an ethical dimension of religion. You don't see that very often, do you? Joy. That's how we work here. I love it. We proceed, the staff here, we proceed with joy and weirdness. And we are very good at both. Right, I love this. So what is the goal? Sure, you've got these codes, but they're along the way. They're like, remember when we talked about the Diamond Sutra? I love that image of the Buddha saying, you know, my words are like a raft across a river. Once you cross the river, don't be carrying around the raft. Let it go. These things are like that, these repentance, renunciation, etc. The ultimate goal, according to Sufism, is to break the ink pots and tear the books. Some wonderful moments in religious history where mystics especially get to that. I don't know if you know the film Razor's Edge, the one with Bill Murray. Yeah? Wonderful film. And he reaches that point where he's cold on a mountaintop in Nepal. And he's like, oh, I'm cold. Let me just burn all these sacred texts. Exactly. You must break the ink pots and tear the books. Oh, there it is, right. Oh, and I love this little story. This is not, I think this is just in Coleman Barks' edition of Rumi. But it's the story of the ocean frog. So this is perfect for what we're talking about. An ocean frog comes to visit a ditch frog who's very proud of where he lives, this ditch frog. It's a section of ditch 2 feet deep, 4 feet long, 3 feet across. It's an awesome ditch. He jumps around, demonstrating the elegant spaciousness of his place. What do you think about this? Very fine, says the ocean frog. What's it like where you live? Asks the ditch frog. He's never seen or heard of the ocean. I can't really describe how it is where I live. Someday I'll take you there. And Coleman Barks says, I had asked my teacher what the difference was between my consciousness and his. And he said, someone who lives in the confines of mind and desire is like the ditch frog. The ocean frog swims the ocean of grace. It's good for them to visit each other. Beautiful, right? So there's a little clip here I want to show you of the version of Sufism that Rumi actually founded called the Whirling Dervishes. So Wes, coming up here.
Akarsuyun gidişine yüzerseniz daha rahat olur. Ama terse yüzerseniz çok daha zor olur, yorulursunuz. Bu da aynı. Dünya dönüyor, sen de dönüyor. Bütün zerreler dönüyor, sen de dönüyorsun. Bizim dünya görüşü, Yaradan'ı kendi vücudunda hisseden bir görüşe sahiptir. 20 senedir semazenlik yapıyorum. Ben 66 yaşındayım. İşte bir tarikat bir yerine gittiğimde orada Sufizm uygulaması öğrenmeye başladım. Mana temizlik. Dünyadan soyunuyorsun siyah ırkayı çıkarttığın zaman. Dünyevi şeylerden sola attığın zaman al deriz. Bunu attığımız zaman da lah deriz. Allah, Allah, Allah. Ama bu zikir içtendir. Sağ el üsttedir, sol el onun altındadır. Yani haktan alır, halka dağıtır. Ama orada da bir yakınlık hissediyorsunuz. Yaradan'dan bir yakınlık hissediyorsunuz. Yaradan her şahsın şah damarından daha yakındır. Dönmede dünya dönüyor, yani bütün zerreler dönüyor.
All right, who is this guy? Jalāl ad-Dīn Rumi. He wasn't born in the early 19th century. That's what the picture is from. So, 1207 to 1273, Balkh in what is now Afghanistan. It was a major city. Lots going on there. It was a cultural center, actually. He is known as Rumi, which in Arabic means from Rome, because he was born in the Roman sector of this major city. And so they just called him Rumi, that dude from Rome, from the Roman section, right? September 30th, 1207, on the eastern edge of the Persian Empire. So this is the last days of the Persian Empire. And he was all set. He had a career ahead of him, and his father was very well known. And he came from a long line of judges and theologians and even mystics already. And his father was known as the Sultan of the Scholars. But there was a storm brewing in the east, and its name was Genghis Khan, and he was coming. And so his father moved the family 2,000 miles west and settled in what is now Turkey. And it was a good thing, because the Khan came through and destroyed everything. He has his name isn't Rumi. That was kind of a nickname. Maulana Jalāl ad-Dīn, for where he was from, the city Jalāl ad-Dīn Muhammad Bhakti, or just Rumi, as we prefer it. There was, the escape to Turkey, and then something major happened. In 1244, Rumi met a man named Shams Tabriz, a dervish god-man, he was called, who had taken the vow of poverty. He was on the path, but he was, became a mentor to Rumi. He became that person who led Rumi to the path to higher consciousness. And of course, this is a long time ago, and there's a lot of legend surrounding it, but the story goes, and I like this story, and stories are great because they reveal so much. Rumi was supposedly teaching by a fountain, and this older man, Shams, walks up through the crowd of the students and pushes Rumi's books into the water, including his father's diary, this very personal spiritual diary from this magnificent man, his father. And he says, "You must now live what you've been reading about." That's what he told Rumi in front of his students. He never even introduced himself, according to the legend. And Rumi was shaken, and then adopted Shams as his teacher and mentor. And in fact, he says his life and his poetry began when he met Shams. What I had thought of before as God, Rumi says, I met today in a human being. Now, you know how potentially dangerous that is for any religion, but especially Islam at this time. But again, this is Sufism. So we're getting past the God symbol. That's the whole idea. Or being absorbed completely into the God symbol. As a result, well, this happens. This just happens. So Rumi had his students, and here comes this Shams guy, and the first thing he does is knocks his books into the water. And you know what it was like. Who the hell's this guy, right? How dare he? That's our teacher, because again, you get attached to the wrong thing. You get attached to the mentor instead of where the mentor's leading you. And so we have no idea if this happened. The major biographer of Rumi thinks it didn't happen, but there is some legend that the students killed Shams. That story's out there. Again, the major biographer says, no, it didn't happen. But again, that's the story, and that's a powerful story about the jealousy of disciples. And again, disciples are really stupid. They're always really stupid. And they're stupid for a literary reason, I would say. Because the stories of the disciples, they're not history. They're mythology. They're didactic. They're designed to teach you something. And so I'm happy to hear the stories. And of course, as we talk in here so often, there has to be, or there often is, some sort of deep brokenness and suffering that must sometimes occur, before you can give your gift to the world. It just happens so often. And I know it's happened to some of you, and it's happened to me. And this happened to Rumi. And it was with the death or departure of his beloved Shams. And so he produces the Divan-i Shams-i Tabrizi, or the work of Shams Tabriz. One of his masterpieces, 40,000 verses. And then he produces the Masnavi, 64,000 lines. So we will not be covering all of Rumi tonight. Yes. It is an amazing body of work. And it did not happen until he suffered this great loss of his teacher. But again, that's the nature of the journey, is that you can't finish the journey. You must finish the journey alone. Your mentor, your teacher is there only for a short time to help orient you in the new world, to help you see where the dangers are and the tests are and the challenges are that you must overcome. But, it's like Moses. The teacher doesn't go into the promised land. His students, his disciples do. He died on December 17th, 1273 in Konya, Turkey. And there was a shrine created there, and a museum and a mosque and a dance hall, appropriately enough, right? And thousands of people visit this place all the time. And again, the most popular poet in America is Rumi. All right, let's hear his voice, finally. Excuse my wandering. What a great opening line, right? Excuse my wandering. Oh, hello. I was once seeing someone, and I said, why can't we be together? And she said, because I don't want to be with a nomad. Excuse my wondering. How can one be orderly with this? It's like with this life, like counting leaves in a garden, along with the song notes of partridges and crows. Sometimes organization and computation become absurd. Sometimes organization and computation become absurd. We're very much seduced by big data now. I'm ready for the era of big data to be over. because it's a little bit of witchery, and it's a little bit of seduction, and it claims things that it shouldn't claim. I'm all for data. I think data actually can tell you a lot about yourself and can teach you. But again, you don't stop there. You make a god of big data, fine, but you still got to go past the god, because sometimes organization and computation become absurd. They really do. Did you see Neil deGrasse Tyson tweet? I can't believe I'm quoting a tweet. But he quoted some data on deaths in America. Okay, his data was correct. Do you know about this? About how many people die from various things. This was the day of Dayton, I think. And people are like, dude, what is your problem? He was stuck in the data, and he forgot to be human. And so people reminded him of that. Yeah. All right. I love this. I love them all. How can you not love them all? I have 5 things to say to you. 5 fingers to give into your grace. First, when I was apart from you, this world did not exist, nor any other. Now, by the way, this is a good time to stop and say that Rumi is probably writing this to Shams. Doesn't matter that much in the end, because what he's writing to his lover is the world and God and Allah and everything beyond that. So the love he has, there's a lot of theories about the homoeroticism of Rumi. That's fine, but it doesn't matter, because this love knows no boundaries. So he could be talking about his wife, could be talking about Shams, Allah, could be talking about you. When I was apart from you, this world did not exist, nor any other. All right, that's the first thing I got to say to you. Second, whatever I was looking for was always you. This is my favorite. Why did I ever learn to count to 3? Fourth, my cornfield is burning. Fifth, this finger stands for Rabia, another mystic, and this is for someone else. Is there a difference? No, of course not. Oh, and this, sorry, when it's the same image, I'm continuing the verse. Sorry. So this continues from before. Are these words or tears? Is weeping speech? What shall I do, my love? So the lover speaks, and everyone around begins to cry with him, and laughing crazily, moaning in the spreading union of lover and beloved, the spreading union. This is the true religion. All others are thrown away, bandages beside it. This is the true religion, love. This is the sema, the ritual of slavery and mastery, dancing together. This is not being. I know these dancers. Day and night I sing their songs in this phenomenal cage. What a great line, this phenomenal cage. So this is double meaning there, right? Phenomenal meaning amazing, beautiful, but also of the world, of the senses, of the world of phenomena. All right, let's see what else. There's the begging bowl I was telling you about. These are all so wonderful. You've so distracted me. Your absence fans my love. Don't ask how. Then you come near. Do not, I say, and do not, you answer. Don't ask why this delights me. Try that tonight with your lover. Do not. And if he or she says do not, you might be onto something. You might be delighted. You see what's happening there. He's saying don't get trapped in the words. Don't try to tell me something. Just be with me. Do not Don't ask why this delights me. I have no words for you. All right. Lovers think they're looking for each other, but there's only one search. Wandering this world to wandering that. Excuse my wandering. Both inside one transparent sky. And here, there is no dogma and no heresy. The miracle of Jesus himself, not what he said or did about the future. Forget the future. I'd worship someone who would do that. Oh, this is from Layla and Majnun, the great story of Majnun who's driven wild by love. Why ask about behavior when you are soul essence and a way of seeing into presence? Plus, you're with us. How could you worry? You may as well free a few words from your vocabulary. Get rid of a few words. These words: why, how, and impossible. Just get rid of them. Open the mouth cage and let those fly away. We are all born by accident, but still this wandering caravan will make camp perfection. Oh, and it continues, sorry. Forget the nonsense categories of there and here, race, nation, and religion. Forget that. Starting point, destination, forget that. You are soul, and you are love. Not a sprite, or an angel, or a human being. One of my favorite lines ever. You're a God-man, woman, God-man, God, God-woman. And you are. No more questions as to what we're doing here. You're a God-man, woman, God-man, God, God-woman. So, shut up. Oh, I love this story. And so there are some longer stories, and I'll share a couple of them with you in Rumi's works. It's not all, well, it's all poetry, but sometimes it's more narrative. An ant hurries along a threshing floor with its wheat grain, one grain, moving between huge stacks of wheat, not knowing the abundance all around. It thinks its one grain is all there is to love. So we choose a tiny seed to be devoted to. This body, one path or one teacher. Look wider, look further. The essence of every human can see, and what that essence eye takes in. The being becomes. Saturn, Solomon. The ocean pours through a jar, and you might say it swims inside the fish. The ocean swims inside the fish. The mystery gives peace to your longing and makes the road home, home. It makes the road home, home. Genius, right? You don't need to be home, you just need to be on the road home. That's home. Oh, this is a good one. The metaphor of drunkenness appears quite a bit in Rumi, and it's a good metaphor because if you're in the presence of Allah, if you're in the presence of the one, of the divine consciousness, it should make you drunk. It's overwhelming your senses. That's what he means. So, what I say makes me drunk. Nightingale, iris, parrot, jasmine, I speak those languages, along with the idiom of my longing for Shamsi Tabriz. The idiom of my longing, right? The unique and special and private language of my longing for this man. Beautiful. Amazing. There is some kiss we want with our whole lives. The touch of spirit on the body. Seawater begs the pearl to break its shell. And the lily, how passionately it needs some wild darling. At night, I open the window and ask the moon to come and press its face against mine. Breathe into me. Close the language door and open the love window. The moon won't use the door, only the window. You okay, Maddie?
I just wanted to take pictures.
Oh, sorry. Hang on. Let's see. Yep. Sure. Love comes sailing through and I scream. Love sits beside me like a private supply of itself. Love puts away the instruments and takes off the silk robes. Our nakedness together changes me completely. It's another metaphor that appears frequently in mystic texts like the Gospel of Thomas, the original Gnostic Gospel. There's a line where Jesus said something, but like if you're not naked, you won't see the kingdom of heaven. You know what it means, right? We don't take this literally. You don't go walk around naked and proclaim you're on a spiritual search. The nakedness involves your disrobing of the ego and your persona to the world.
Challenge accepted.
I'm sorry?
Challenge accepted.
I think you should start somewhere else. And say, excuse my wandering as you go. If you love love, look for yourself. Just going to put that there for a second. Isn't that a great image? The way of love is not a subtle argument. I'm really sorry to hear that because I'm really good at arguments. But yeah, that's right. That does not help you in love, a subtle argument. The door there is devastation. I can confirm that. Birds make great sky circles of their freedom. How do they learn that? They fall, and falling, they're given wings. Birds make great sky circles of their freedom. How do they learn that? They fall and fallen. They're giving wings. They're given wings. Wonderful. I think Tom Petty wrote a song about that. You're thinking that too, right? All right, almost done. Pale sunlight, pale the wall. Love moves away. The light changes. I need more grace than I thought. Oh, here's one of those longer stories. Okay, so this is how it starts. Someone offhand to the Caliph of Egypt, as you talk to the Caliph, and here's the story. This someone says, the king of Mosul has a concubine like no other. She looks like this. He draws her likeness on paper. The Caliph drops his cup. He immediately sends his captain to Mosul with the army. The siege goes on for weeks, many casualties, and towers unsteady as wax. The king of Mosul sends an envoy. Why this killing? If you want the city, I will leave and you can have it. If you want more wealth, that's even easier. Leave me alone. The captain, who apparently is the someone talking to the caliph, takes out the piece of paper. This is what we want. The strong king is quick to reply, lead her out. The idol belongs to the idolater. When the captain sees her, he falls in love, like the caliph. Don't laugh at this. Rumi says, don't laugh at this. Their loving is also part of infinite love. Their loving is also part of infinite love, without which the world does not evolve. Objects move from inorganic to vegetation, to selves endowed with spirit, through the urgency of every love that wants to consummate. The captain thinks the soil looks fertile, so he sows his seed. Sleeping, he makes love to a dream image of a girl, and his semen spurts out. He wakes up, I'm in love. His infatuation is a blackwater wave carrying him away. Something makes a phantom appear in the darkness of a well, and the phantom itself becomes strong enough to throw actual lions into this hole. The captain does not take the girl straight to the caliph. Instead, he camps in a secluded meadow. Blazing, he can't tell the ground from the sky. His reason is lost in a drumming sound. Worthless radish and son of a radish. I feel like that. Okay. Son of a radish. This cultivator tears off the woman's pants and lies down between her legs, his penis moving straight to the mark. Just then, there's a rising cry of soldiers outside the tent. A black lion from a nearby swamp has gotten in among the horses. The captain leaps up with bare bottom shining, scimitar in hand. The lion is jumping 20 feet in the air, tents billowing like an ocean. The captain splits the lion's head with one blow. Now he's running back to the woman. When he stretches out the beauty again, his penis gets even more erect. The engagement, the coming together, is as with the lion. His penis stays erect all through and does not scatter semen feebly. The beautiful one is amazed at his virility. With great energy, she joins with his energy. The two spirits go out from them as one. Whenever two are linked in this way, another comes from the unseen. Whenever two are linked in this way with this primal energy, another comes from the unseen. It may be through birth, if nothing prevents conception, but a third does come when two unite in love or in hate. The intense qualities of such joining have these consequences. Such association bears progeny. There are children to consider. Children born of your sexual energy shared with another are entities in the invisible world. That is a sobering thought, isn't it? They have form and speech. They are crying to you now. You have forgotten us, come back. Beware of this, he says. A man and a woman together have a spirit result. The captain was not aware. He fell and stuck like a gnat in a pot of buttermilk, totally absorbed in his love affair. Then just as suddenly, he's uninterested. Oh, a lion. Don't say a word of this to the caliph. He takes the girl and presents her. He tells the girl not to say anything to the caliph. He takes the girl and presents her. The caliph is smitten, of course. She's 100 times more beautiful than he imagined. He also has the idea of entering her beauty and comes to his wanting. Memory raises his penis, straining in toward the pushing down and lifting up that makes it grow large with delight. As he lies down upon her, though, there comes a tiny sound, like a mouse might make. A suggestion from God that he lay off these voluptuous doings. The penis droops and desire slips away. So just remember, when you're reading a bumper sticker or an Instagram post about Rumi, just remember, this also is Rumi. Okay? The penis droops and desire slips away. You see what he's talking about there. This is actually a very old story of recognizing the sacred in the other. And whether you will whether you will recognize it or not, it begins with desire. It begins with, oh my God, this is go get her. Let's wage war to get this woman. That's where it begins. And if it ends there, that is not the sacred. You must see the woman or the man as, well, a spirit being. Because this union you're going to have, if it takes the form of sex, fine. It can take other forms, but it produces children. What does he say? It produces a spirit result. Wow. Children born of your sexual energy shared with another are entities in the invisible world. They have form and speech. They are crying to you now, you have forgotten us, come back. Whoa. Okay, let's move on. Here's another drunk metaphor. Drunks fear the police, but the police are drunk too. People in this town, we love them both because they're just like different chess pieces. Brilliant. Don't feed both sides of yourself equally. The spirit and the body carry different loads and require different attentions. Where's Stephen Reedy? Sounds like you. You've been copying Rumi all this time? Yes. Good. Too often we put saddlebags on Jesus and let the donkey run loose in the pasture. Damn, that's good. Don't make the body do what the spirit does best. And don't put a big load on the spirit that the body could easily carry away. All right. Hiding is the hidden purpose of creation. We're in touch with that, right? That's why we're at an esoteric center, because it's hidden. Hiding is the hidden purpose of creation. Bury your seed and wait. After you die, all the thoughts you had will throng around like children. The heart is the secret inside the secret. Call the secret language and never be sure what you conceal. It's unsure people who get the blessing. It is unsure people who get the blessing. Thank God. Thank the goddess. Thank Allah that I don't know everything. And this is our passage. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Thank you. Let's talk.